So the Indiana Fever are playing the Phoenix Mercury today, and I am going to be doing a preview of this game. By the time this video goes up, the game should be in 4 hours. Obviously, I will be live for that game. So we're going to be talking about this one because it's a couple of very interesting things have happened since I've been since I've been talking about this game earlier today. The most interesting thing that has happened, I thought was going to be Taurasi being officially ruled as out. So I would have thought Taurasi being gone for the game might have made this maybe not that hyped for a game. But then do you want to know who they signed? The player the Indiana Fever didn't want. They hired the player the Indiana Fever thought was surplus to requirements. They signed Celeste Taylor. Celeste Taylor is now a Mercury player. And of course, they signed Celeste Taylor the day. And I mean it, the day they're playing her old team. That is mental. That is absolutely mental. That, for me, that is going to be the thing for this game is does Celeste Taylor play? How many minutes does Celeste Taylor play? Does she get on? My prediction would be yes. I don't think they would have signed her. They would have waived someone to sign her if she wasn't going to play. Also, this means Diana Taurasi's injury is probably a bit worse than expected. So I'd say Taurasi she's probably hurt. She's genuinely probably hurt and out for the Olympics because, again, this 7-day contract basically goes into the Olympic break. One thing is that I don't think we're going to see the Mercury start off the game with Ka Copper on Caitlin Clark. And not only Ka Copper on Caitlin Clark, Natasha Cloud on Aaliyah Boston. I don't see them starting off the game putting a 5-10 point guard on Aaliyah Boston. I think that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen a coach do. I know why he did it, why Nate Tibbetts did it. Ironically, they didn't give the ball to Aaliyah Boston until what? They go 10, was it 10-1 or something? They went ahead and they just did not even look to give the ball to Aaliyah Boston. They were stumped. They didn't know what to do. So, but also Ka Copper with 7 points on 15 shots is just not good enough. So I think what they lose on offense for one of the greatest scorers in the league, they gained on defense, obviously, but they're not going to have Ka Copper scoring 7 points a game. For the Indiana Fever, I don't know how I feel about this game. I think it's going to be a really tough game for them because I don't think Aaliyah Boston's going to have any ability to guard Brittney Griner again. And likelihood is no Temi Fagbenle. And Temi, I thought, did a really, really good job. You can't put Alyssa Smith on Brittney Griner. You sure as hell cannot put Demiris Dantas on the floor today. To be fair, Demiris Dantas might be able to work in the pick and pop. But on defense, oh my God, it's going to be just a massacre. Brittney Griner is just going to post her up and shoot a hook shot in her face every single time. It's just such a bad matchup. It's such a bad matchup. And to be fair, almost every matchup is going to be bad tonight. Caitlin Clark is going to have to do a good job. I thought she did a really good job on Natasha Cloud the last game. But at the same time, she's got to guard Cloud. She has got to guard Natasha Cloud. And she's got to do as good a job. Because Natasha Cloud had 30 during the week. She did nothing on Caitlin. I wonder what the defensive assignment is going to be on Caitlin. I think probably we see them starting Sophie Cunningham on her. I think they might give Celeste Taylor 6 to 7 minutes on Caitlin. But I think they're going to rotate bodies on her. I don't think they're going to try any crazy defensive schemes on her like they did the last time. They threw everything. They threw absolutely everything at Caitlin the last time. It didn't matter what it was. They threw every bit of defense at her. They threw every different type of defense I've ever seen at her, and they couldn't stop her. So I think, look, Nate Tibbetts is a legitimate. Like, he's a legitimate head coach. Like, this is not like a Christy Sides, never coached in his life, type hire. Like, no, this guy was with the Magic. This guy was NBA assistant coach. Doesn't have experience much coaching in the women's game. So he's probably not the greatest WNBA coach, because there are coaches that have both experience with the women's game and are elite coaches, like a Becky Hammon. Like, there are a lot of these good coaches that have the ability to do both. Whereas, like with Tibbetts, you can see with the way he was game planning for Caitlin that he knew what he was doing. It's just obviously it's a bit different game planning for Caitlin Clark and game planning for, I should say, a Donovan Mitchell in the NBA. And you got to kind of game plan in a different way, I guess. But you could see that he was trying to throw different looks at her. He was trying to throw different things. It just didn't work out in the end. So that is what I will say for that is I think we're going to see not 17 different schemes. I think we're not going to see a switch everything. We're not going to see them trying to stop Aaliyah, or I don't think they're going to give up everything else for everyone else. Like, they literally went out with the tactic of, we're going to sacrifice the second best scorer in the league. We are going to let everybody else on this team do whatever the hell they want. We're just stopping her. I don't think they're going to do that. What I wouldn't be surprised to see is Caitlin to have a better stat line. Like, she only, I think, shot the ball 9 times. Was it 9? Might have been a bit more than 9, but she didn't shoot. Oh, no, she shot a low percentage. Sorry, I think she was 4 of 14. She had only 15 points the last time when these two teams played. So, like, she shot the ball more, and she shot the ball real bad in that game. But what I think we're going to see is, wouldn't be surprised to see Caitlin with 12 assists, 26 points, 8 or 9 boards. I wouldn't be that surprised to see her get a triple-double. Because in a way, like, this team is not a shot-making team like the Mystics are when they got hot. They just made everything. That's why the rebound stopped. Mystics made everything. They're not going to cut like the Mystics. They're not going to play that type of style. But I think what we're going to probably see is Copper drop. I think we're going to see Copper drop 30. I think we're going to see Cloud picking up Caitlin Clark 40 minutes. I think we're going to see Cloud maybe struggle offensively. But I think we're going to see Copper dropping 30. I think Cloud's going to be guarding Caitlin Clark a lot of the game. I think it's going to be a big game for Alyssa Smith. If I'm thinking of one player that's going to maybe go off, I think it's going to probably be an Alyssa Smith for Indiana. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Caitlin Clark have a big scoring game. But I also think they're going to lose. Like, even though Taurasi's out, I think if Griner was out, I would be more... Like, if Taurasi was in and Griner was out, I would pick the Fever. But Taurasi being out doesn't swing anything for me. As good as Taurasi is, it doesn't change the final score in this game. I think that it's going to be an interesting one. I think Aaliyah Boston might struggle a bit, especially because the reason she scored so many points the last time was they had a 5'10" point guard on her early in the game. And I think they're going to have some sort of a plan to stop the pick and roll. Like, because Brittney Griner cannot do anything in the pick and roll. If I'm Christy Sides and I'm a smart coach, I would put Brittney Griner in a pick and roll every single play. You've got 2 players that can roll to the basket and finish in Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith. Whoever is being guarded by Brittney Griner, I would put them in the pick and roll every possession. Griner is not quick enough to guard 2. She's not. She's not quick enough. As tall as she is and she's got good hands, she's not a shot blocker like an Ezi Magbagor. She's not like that much of an interior defensive presence. Heck, she's not even nearly as good a shot blocker as an Aaliyah Boston. So I would really, really attack her every single time if I'm the Fever. I would keep the ball in Caitlin Clark's hands as much as possible. And it doesn't matter what's happening. If they do start off putting a guard on Aaliyah Boston early in the game, I'm getting the ball into Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston, back her down. What I could see them doing, they're not going to start Cloud on Boston. They might start Copper on Boston. And if they start Kalia Copper on Boston, I would go straight into Aaliyah. Because, like, if you play basketball, you know, a bruising post player backing into you, that takes the wind out of you. It'll tire them out. It'll tire her out. So if they put a guard on Aaliyah Boston, Screw Caitlin's stats. Get the ball to Aaliyah and see what she does. See what she does. Run through her. But I don't see them doing that. I think they're gonna go and put what's her name? Griner on Boston. The big chance I see for the Fever winning is if they can run. If the Fever are running, this team has no chance. Like, the Mercury can't keep up with them. The Mercury can't. We've seen it. The Mercury cannot keep up with Indiana when they're running. There are players on this Mercury team that are just not quite fast enough. And Griner's not fast enough. Whoever their backup center was terrible. Like, they don't have a bench. Like, with Sophie Cunningham probably starting, the Mercury do not have a bench. So if the Indiana Fever are able to push the tempo for 4 quarters, like, you're obviously not going to be able to do it. There's ups and downs in games. But if they're able to push the tempo for even 3 quarters of this game, I'm telling you, it's that's their best chance. Player for player, they don't match up well. In a slow down game, they do not match up well. The only real chance they have is, again, just push, push, push. If they can push, and they can force Kat Copper to be tired, like, Natasha Cloud's going to have to play the guts of 40 minutes. Copper's probably going to have to play 40 minutes. Any minute Brittney Griner is not on the floor, the Fever are at a huge advantage. They got to just take advantage of that. And with the pace, if they're able to pick up the pace so that you can't play a Copper 40 minutes, like, the Fever are more used to playing this pace than anyone else. So it's probably their best chance of winning this specific game. Like, there are games where Fever can slow it down sometimes, like they were out of control completely against Washington. But again, Washington are a team that are better equipped to deal with the pace than these are. This is a good team, but it's not a good team going up and down. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. My prediction is Mercury by... I think they're going to get their revenge. I'm going to go Mercury by 8. I'll go Mercury by 8 is my prediction.